If you don't get a clock from me, your time is up. Flavor of Love is one of the most iconic reality TV shows that has ever been made. For the show to have premiered back in the early 2000s and 2006, I believe, and still be referenced in 2024 through memes, reaction videos, or just conversations about the most iconic moments on the show, just shows how iconic and memorable the show really was. And if you don't know what Flavor of Love is, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, where have you been? Like, come on now. Like, if anything, you should go watch the first season. And, lucky you, because you get to go into the show blind and not know what's going on, what's happening. So as for me, I probably watched the show over 100 million times, to the point where I know every single reference, every single person on the show, every single small detail about the show. I probably know it. And if you don't know what the Flavor of Love is, how unfortunate. But here's a little backstory. We have Flavor Flav, the person that 20 delusional women are competing for his love, to possibly end up loving him, right? Spoiler alert, he doesn't find love. We had 3 seasons of the show, and it was just all a waste, right? It was just all entertainment. But Flavor Flav, he is a hype man, and he's also a rapper. He's part of a rap group called Public Enemy. I don't think I knew who Flavor Flav was prior to him being on the show. But before the show, he was on 2 other shows. One called Surreal Life, where a bunch of celebrities, they live together to see how they interact with each other. On the show, there was also another actress. Her name is Bridget Nielsen. They met together. They, formed some type of relationship. They fell in love. So they got their own spinoff show called Strange Love. On that show, it was basically detailing their relationship, blah, blah, blah. That didn't work out. She went on a plane. She flew off to do who knows what. Flav, he was sad. He was heartbroken. And now he has his own show. Season 1, episode 1 starts off with all 20 women who are competing for his love, standing in this big ass house with this big ass metallic dinosaur on the front lawn. They're standing on these podiums. The music is dramatic. They're waiting on somebody to show up. That's somebody being Flavor Flav, right? So Flav, he finally shows up in his limo. He's accompanied by his assistant / bodyguard, Big Rick. And shout out to Big Rick. I was such a fan of his. He witnessed a lot of BS on this show. So Flav, he busts through the doors. He's like, hey, everybody. They all start screaming, and already they start faking. And, the actresses jumped out because they're like, oh my God, Flav, I love him. Oh my God, they started cheering for him. Now, see, if I was one of the contestants, like I said earlier, I probably wouldn't have known who Flav was. So I probably would have been faking it. Like, woo, yeah. What's his name again? What is it, Flav? Okay, got it. Ooh, Flav, I love Flav. We see some of the confessionals to the contestants, and some of them are fans of Flav and Public Enemy. They know who he is. And one of them, she starts off by saying, I hope when Flav and I, when we lock eyes, I hope that he falls in love with me right away. Aw, sweetheart. At least she's being optimistic from the start, right? But keep dreaming. Another contestant, we see her say, when I told my parents that I was going to be on the show, they told me, no, please don't be on the show. But, I told them that, Flav, he's no longer an addict anymore. And I think that he takes care of his kids. Or he doesn't. But regardless, I think that he's full of love. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, that is not a good introduction. Like, what do you mean that, oh yeah, he used to be an addict, and yeah, I think that he takes care of his kids? Like, no. But okay. I would have been in the confessional just lying every single second. Like, yeah, I love Flav. Me and Flav forever. I love his music. I'm gonna make it to the finale, right? Anything to sound like a groupie. So Flav, he has these bouquet of flowers. He's giving every single contestant one. He tells them, okay, in a second, you're about to go explore the house. Go pick out your rooms. I'll see you later. So they run around the house. They're looking at the big ass house. The house is pretty nice. It's very decorative. There's like 15 rooms. But one of the contestants, she catches on and she's like, wait a minute. There's 20 of us, but there's 15 rooms. Clearly, 5 of us are going home tonight, so I would have been sitting there like, well, can't relate. I'm not going anywhere, so let me unpack my stuff and get comfortable. So eventually, Big Rick, the assistant / bodyguard, he gets them all together. He's like, okay, ladies, let's go downstairs. Flav, he has an announcement. Flav, he tells them all, okay, ladies, so I'm going to give everybody a nickname because I'm not good with names. I'm going to forget everybody's name, so I'm going to give everybody a nickname. This was one of my favorite portions of the show because I was always curious as to what nickname he would give to the contestants. And some of them were cute and iconic, and then some other names, he was just pulling out his ass. He names the first contestant Oyster, which I thought it was cute, but then he tells her, oh, well, you know what oysters do to men, right? Which I was kind of confused by that because I thought oysters were just food, but apparently, according to my research, oysters contain zinc, which is important for male sexual health and fertility. The more you know, right? So she wasn't happy with the nickname. Next, other nicknames include something like Sirius, Apples, Dimples, Georgia. Sad fact, I believe she passed away a couple of years ago. I'm not really sure of what or why, but we have Dimples, Rain, Miss Latin, Peaches, Sirius, Apples, Smokey, Hottie. Hottie was another hot mess of a contestant that was well known on the show because every time that she blinked her eyes, the producers were so petty. Even in 2006, she would blink her eyes and they would play this tricycle sound effect in the background like... And fun fact, Hottie, every now and then, she will like my pictures on Instagram over the years, and she doesn't follow me, and I don't follow her, and I don't know how she does that or why she does that, but regardless, every time she likes one of my pictures or whatever I post, I just picture the little tricycle as she's doing it. We have Goldie. Goldie was another favorite. By the way, I'm going to be putting pictures of all the contestants as I'm talking about them. Goldie, she was one of my favorites. Even back then, I love Goldie. We have Hoops. Hoops, you know, it took me a good while to realize why he called her that name because I'm like, Hoops, is it because of the earrings or it was because of the basketball? I'm so dumb. But fun fact with me and Hoops, not too long ago, a couple of months ago, like I ran into her at the airport. I was sitting at an airport, I had a layover, and I wasn't even supposed to be at this airport. And I'm just sitting there, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I look over to my left and I'm looking at somebody and I'm like, is that so-and-so? And I know her real name because I was just looking at her Twitter not too long ago. And I yell out and I'm like, Nicole. And she looks back. And obviously Nicole is Hoops. She looks back and she is still beautiful as ever to this very day. And I'm like, oh my God, Hoops, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of you. Well, I'm a fan of the show. But you know, I can say I'm a fan of her, right? I'm like, Hoops, I can't believe this. So she sits down next to me. She was with somebody else. She was so sweet. I was too starstruck and I was extremely sleepy. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, so I couldn't really say much, or else I would have done a full-on interview with her. And I'm like, can we take a selfie? And we took a selfie. She was so sweet about it. I'm gonna post it right here. At the time, I remember the nickname that I chose for myself if I was to ever be on these shows. Can anybody guess? It would have been Mr. Jersey. Why? Because I'm from New Jersey. I probably would have been eliminated the first episode with that name. Then we get down to one of the contestants. I'm not sure if she was drunk or sleepy, but she walks up to him and she's like, hi, Mr. Flavor. She's like, you know, he reminds me so much of my dad. Both of them are clowns and both of them wear gold in their teeth. And I'm like, again, these introductions, just terrible, right? And he's looking at her and he's just like, okay, well, what do you like? She's like, well, I like art. I'm going to call you Picasso. And again, Flav, he will just give out nicknames out his ass. Like, you know what? You have 2 lungs and you know how to breathe? I'm going to call you Oxygen. So then he gets down to one of the contestants. He could not give a nickname to her. They're just looking at each other awkwardly until she breaks the silence. And she's like, well, I mean, I like scuba diving. Oh, okay, I'm going to call you Shells. I'm surprised he didn't call her like Dolphin or Shark or something, or Ocean. On top of that, he's giving them the nicknames on these pieces of paper, but he's placing it on their breasts. And he's just like, oh yeah, let me put it right here. Right here, hold on, let me get a good squeeze. Some of them getting on their ass. And again, if I was one of the contestants, I'm using my brain, right? I'm trying to make it to the finale. So I would have told Flav, you know, Flav, you don't have to put it there. You could just put it right here. Put it on my throat. They get a mixer going. They open up the champagne. Flav, he's spending time with all of the contestants and he sits down between New York and Pumpkin, ironically, especially if you know what happens between them later on. So he's sitting there in New York. New York is so beautiful and I've been a fan of her ever since the first episode of this show back in 2006 and I'm still her biggest fan to this very day. I feel like if I ever have a chance to meet her, I'm probably gonna cry. And it's crazy because she is still just as relevant to this very day. Like she is, to me, she is a trendsetter of reality TV. Like she is the standard. Pumpkin is looking at her like, oh, she's so fake. She's so phony, which is crazy to say because New York is one of the most sincere contestants to ever be on the show. Like her feelings for Flav were actually genuine and a little bit too extreme. And she actually went on record to say that the reason why she got onto the show, she was in Hollywood. She was walking the streets of Hollywood Boulevard, I believe. She was trying to make it as an actress. And some random producer of the show randomly went up to her like, oh, you want to audition for the show? You want to come? Blah, blah, blah. She was just like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And here we are. And the rest is history. She was literally at the right place at the right time. And look at that. Like, the show launched her into stardom. But, eventually we see Hottie. Hottie, she comes out, she grabs Flav. She's like, come on, Flav, come on. You're going to have to spend time with me. In the confessional, she's just like, Flav, he's already my man. This is my man. This is my house. That's my money. Like, she was so bold to just basically admit that she was being a gold digger. I mean, that would have been my intention as well. But I would have been a little bit more secretive about it. Like, don't say that you're actually there for the money. But the other women are trying to talk to Flav, but Hottie's just like, no, this is my man. We're spending time together. And they just walk away as if this is not a competition for Flav. If I was them, I would have told Hottie, you and your big ass titties, because that's what she kept saying in the confessional that, I have 34 double Ds and they're all real. I would have told Hottie, you and your titties, move out the way. Hey, Flav. But eventually, Flav, he gets in between Picasso, Goldie, and Sweetie. Shout out to Sweetie, too. I was rooting for her the second that I found out that she was from New Jersey, I believe. And Picasso, she starts off the conversation so awkwardly, and she's like, so I like to masturbate. Like, don't we all, Picasso? And Flav is just like, oh, okay, well, I like to do it too sometimes. And Sweetie, she's just like, so do you have a large sexual appetite? Excuse me, Sweetie? Like, what happened to, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What kind of hobbies do you like doing on your free time? No, do you have a large sexual appetite? Like, excuse me? And then on top of that, Picasso, she's just like, well, of course. I mean, he has 6 children. I'm like, shout out to Nick Cannon, but, he's just like, yeah, no, of course, I'm good. I'm always on the go. And, then Sweetie, again, it's like these women are trying to offend him because she's just like, I just figured since you were up there in age, because at the time of filming, I believe that the contestants were somewhere in their early to mid-20s, and he was somewhere in his 40s or 50s, which I thought that was weird. And she's just like, I just figured since you were up there in age that maybe you needed Viagra or something. And I'm like, Sweetie, are you trying to get a one-way ticket home? Like, and Flav is looking at her like, who needs Viagra? I don't need Viagra. I'm good. I'm fine all the time. And I'm like, okay, Flav. Okay, we'll go with that story. Cherry gets one-on-one time with Flav by the pool, and the reason why she's named Cherry is because Flav saw her nipples poking through her shirt, and he was just like, oh, those are the cherries right there. I'm gonna call you Cherry. So they're out there, she's in her lingerie, she's hugging on him, they're kissing on each other, and, it just comes off so forced and insincere from Cherry's part. It's like she's just doing it just to do it. And I'm not even sure if I was on a dating show, if I would go down the physical route on the very first night. I'm just trying to get to know you and you're already hugging all over me. I don't know. Because for me, my body is a temple that a couple of people have visited. So who am I lying? I'll be out there with my G-string on with pasties and a champagne flute. But eventually they get interrupted by another crazy, not a crazy... because Cherry does come off a little cuckoo. So speaking of cuckoo, we see Rain. Rain comes up and she's just like, oh, well, it's my time to spend with him. And then in the confessional, she also comes off very forced and insincere because she's like, I love Flav. I love him so much. I love this man and he's going to love me. And I'm like, again, both of you are coming off very strong and very fake, but eventually Flav, he makes his way over to Georgia, Apples, and Oyster. Georgia, she compliments him on the red suit that he has on, and that brings Oyster in, and she's just like, well, speaking of that, I'm actually attempting to break a world record by wearing red every single day. And I mean, could you imagine just wearing one color every single day? Like, that's a little bit too much. Her closet probably looks like a bucket of blood. She's probably a damn vampire herself. And fun fact, she is to this very day still wearing only red. If you go to her Instagram, it's literally just red, 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 red in every single square. And also, fun fact, she's dating or she's married to Tech from MTV's The Real World. So, and if I had to wear one color every single day, it'll probably be blue. But then again, I don't know, because let's say I'm going out shopping, right? I'm looking for my blue outfits. I just happen to glance over at the clearance section. I see something cute and it's purple. Like, there goes my streak. Like, I'm buying it. It's on clearance. It's $5. I am so sorry. So I don't know how Red Oyster does it. Back inside, everybody else is drinking champagne, but Goldie, she's drinking a little bit too much champagne. She gets a little strawberry. She puts it in her cup. Her and Rain are dancing. They're drinking. And, one thing about champagne, it's not going to hit you like vodka does. Vodka, you feel it going down your throat, right? But champagne, 1 second you're feeling classy. You're feeling high class and bougie, like, my little champagne, with the pinky out and everything. Next thing you know, after 2-3 glasses, whew, you're just sitting there in the corner like, with a headache, you're sweating, you're just thinking about everything in life. Like, what did I do? Like, I should have went to school for something. That's exactly what happened with Goldie, because next thing you know, she's dancing and then we cut forward and she's on the couch. She's completely knocked out. They're trying to get her up for elimination because elimination, everybody's getting ready. Meanwhile, in New York, she's upstairs in the bathroom. Of course, she's getting ready. Red Oyster, she's like, so, if you had to see, 5 women go home tonight, who would go home? New York, she's like, well, honestly, all of them, because eventually I'm gonna win. So, they all have to go home. So then it's elimination time and we hear that dramatic music that... something about the music is just embedded in my veins. Like, it's just so dramatic. Like, somebody's about to go home. He comes downstairs and Big Rick is holding all the clocks with their faces on it to the women who are staying in the house, which I thought it was a cute touch. New York, I believe that she still has her clock to this very day. I'm pretty sure that she's still waiting around somewhere in her house like, any day now there's going to be a Flavor of Love season 4 and I'm going to have to dust off my clock and come back. But, Flav, he tells them all, I love you all, but 5 of you are gonna have to go home and it's nothing personal. And the first clock that he calls is Hottie. Like, really, Flav, Hottie? Like, oof. She obviously fooled him and she runs out like, so she grabs her clock and then Sirius is the second one. I actually really like Sirius, even though she was a little bit tad annoying and very obvious with her intentions, mentioning that she was a model every 5 seconds. Like, she'll be like, hey, Flav, I'm a model. Good morning, Flav, I'm a model. By the way, I'm a model. Oh, can I get a piece of cheese? By the way, I'm a model. Like, that's all that came out of her mouth. Understandable, but at the same time, like I told Hottie a second ago, at least make your intentions a little bit more disguised. New York, my fave, she was the third one to get the clock, so she was excited about it. Pumpkin, she was being a hater. One by one, they all start getting their clocks, and some of them were questionable, but eventually, we were left down to 1 clock. Goldie's still up there. I believe a couple of the other irrelevant women were still up there. Eventually, he gives the last clock to Goldie, and Goldie comes down, and then she kisses him on the lip. I'm surprised that he didn't smell the throw up in her mouth. Like, the second that she would have approached me and tried to kiss me, I would have been like, okay, Goldie, here's your and never mind. Here, Big Rick, take this back. Your time is up. Go home. Like, that is nasty. They kissed and she went back onto the podium and Flav, he tells the remaining 5 women, if it's nothing personal, come down here and, give me love and your time is up. I'm so sorry, but it is what it is. So who got eliminated? Smokey. Smokey was irrelevant. Shells, the girl, obviously she should have known that she was going home when he couldn't even give her a nickname. Picasso, AKA she likes masturbating. Cherry. Obviously, Flav saw through her BS because Cherry was just coming out way too strong and just unnecessary. And she was just crying her eyes out. She was just like, I just really wanted to stay with him. And I really wanted to stay. Like, it's not fair. Some of the women are staying in the house. Yeah, you're a loser. Go home. You and your nipples. But she goes home, Bubbles goes home. I do not know who she is. And that was that. So I think that he made the right choices. If anything, I feel like Cherry should have stayed at least one more episode to see what she had, but that was that. They all go home. He grabs champagne flutes for everybody. They all toast. And then he pours some out for the losers that just went home. And that was that. We are left with 15 women. Who is going to be the winner? Obviously, we all know. Unless you don't know. If you don't know, go watch the show. It's on Tubi. And let me know who was your favorite contestant. Who was your least favorite? Would you compete for love for Flavor Flav? Because I heard that there was actually going to be a reboot of Flavor Flav now, but not with Flav himself. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work. Like, is he going to be a part of the show? But I would like to see it. But let me know down in the comments and we will talk for episode 2. Bye, everybody. Mwah.